What's up, San Diego? Welcome in to Gwynn and Chris. Mine is Chris, I believe, for one more day. Yeah, he'll be back tomorrow?
No, he'll be back Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, he's going to miss game one. Okay.
You're telling me, Tony.
Okay.
I got a little bit of an update for everyone on what's happening tomorrow with the show, but go ahead first.
Okay, well, welcome in. Should be a fun, short show. Man, this camera's quite tight on my face, man. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this two-camera view, but there's only two of us, so I guess it has to be this way.
Do you like the bunting? That's what it's called. See on the camera if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Just search 97 Through the Fan.
Playoff vibes,
Yes.
right there. The bunting.
Yes, I got a bunch of messages
on Friday. What do we call it? 4th of July. What do we call it?
Banners.
4th of July banners.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bunting makes me think of playoffs. I tell you what, game 161 in this Mets-Brave doubleheader made me feel like we're in playoff baseball. What a finish. We'll get to that in a second because obviously it has a big factor in what the Padres will see and do come tomorrow. But where should we start? Let's start with the weekend. Padres were able to clinch on Friday, which we weren't able to talk about because the next day was Saturday.
Correct.
When I say clinch, I mean clinch the top spot.
Yeah.
They got a Braves. What was they got one of the two. There was a bunch of scenarios on how it had to happen, but the Padres got a win, which was one of the things.
Yes.
And I think
the Mets had to lose, and they did to the
Mets had
the
to
Brewers.
lose. Yeah, so they both got that done. That happened Friday night. Saturday and Sunday from a broadcast standpoint was very much like spring training vibes for
you know what I felt that for
Jesse
you.
and I, right?
felt
like
that for
it
you.
was the first time that him and I have ever done a game where the fate was sealed in a good way for the Padres, and there was we were there. Half of the starters were out of the lineup, so. It was kind of a fun, laid-back broadcast. And I don't know if we'll ever get that ever again, right? We got the last two games to kind of do that. Even though the third game we were kind of a little more locked in. Arise was chasing a batting title. There was 8 different scenarios in which the Padres could figure out who they were playing, 2 of which were pretty clean. Didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. The next one, which is probably the Padre favor, happened. Which was, well, not the next one. I think this one was actually scenario 5, according to Jeff Passan.
Yes.
Which was a Mets win, a Braves loss, and a Diamondback win. That brings us to where we are today.
Those pesky Diamondbacks.
The Diamondbacks are literally at Chase Field right now, bags packed.
Yeah.
Hoping that the Mets can win another one. Because if the Mets win another one, Diamondbacks are in. They'll go to Milwaukee. New York comes here. If the Braves win game 2, and spoiler alert, obviously, because I'm talking about game 2, the Braves would be in. They'd come to San Diego. New York will go to Milwaukee.
Now, I said before the show, I don't want the Mets coming here because the Mets are like the other team with this magical run in them, and it was proven today when Francisco Lindor hit a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th inning to win it for the Mets.
Before we go down the Mets,
yes.
But first we got to give some props to the Padres side of things.
We should.
First. Luis Arise, 3-time, back-to-back batting champ. 3 different teams, first time ever. Now, first time evers are always pretty cool, but this one, it comes with a caveat. There was a time where no one would consider trading a batting champion.
True.
So there's a reason why one team might trade him, but in back-to-back seasons, it's probably never been done.
I'm surprised he's been. I guess I'm not surprised he's been traded so many times, but he fits the Padres perfectly. He is a Padre. And this year, this is pretty impressive to me just because of how bad his thumb seems like it hurts him because he even talked about it.
He still does this after a certain
He gets the
jam.
inside pitch. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how he's still doing what he's doing with his thumb the way it is, but credit to him. Tough guy right there.
Yeah, tough guy. According to Mike Schilt, doesn't have to go to him to say, hey, we're going to put you here, or I'm giving you a day, or I'm going to give you. He's willing to do whatever it is.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that he doesn't have to check in. I mean, I'm sure he does because it's Mike Schilt, but he doesn't have to. So shout out to Luis Arraez's third title. Not only did he get his third batting title, 200 hits again for him. That is a huge marker, and he did it in best fashion. His last at bat of that game, because he would come out after doubling, was hit number 200. It's a big number, and
it doesn't seem like it happens very often.
And I tell you what, this will be my last. It's not be my last thing, but last thing for now on.
Oh,
Luis.
last thing. Okay, we can go home after that.
No, we can't go home. Last thing on Luis for now. He's on a path where it really won't be recognized what he's doing unless he's able to do it for a sustained amount of time. You know, as good as and as much as we remember my father. And as high regard we keep him in, there was a point in his career where this wasn't, him hitting 300 wasn't, it wasn't looked at the way it's looked at now. It took him getting into like year 7, 8, 9 of doing it before the recognition started to come. Remember, my dad started in 83. Recognition didn't start coming his way like for real until he got into the 90s in terms of the type of hit. It doesn't mean there wasn't articles written just like they were written about Luis, but in terms of his stature in the game as a whole, in a long-term perspective, really didn't start coming until year 7, 8 of doing it. And so I just pointing that out because this is Luis's third year doing it. He puts another 3 years, like I think we'll be talking about. We won't be having the conversation of his value, this and that and the other. It'll be, man, this guy skill level is on a different level. But of course, he's got to do that for a sustained amount of time. Only time will tell if that.
There's
if that
only
happens.
one player in baseball this year that had more than 200 hits along with Luis Arraez. Do you know who it is?
The young kid, Bobby Witt.
That's correct.
Yeah.
211 hits for Bobby Witt.
When you hit 330, I mean, you probably doing some damage. They ain't walking you too much. You know what I'm saying at that age. So shout out.
But that just proves to you. Sorry, that just proves to me at least how hard it is to collect 200 hits in a season. If only 2 guys did it, and none of the guys in the games playing right now are gonna get close to that.
Yeah. Padres finish 93.
Yes, 93 wins.
93 wins.
I remember before the year, I said mid-90s, and you guys, at least Chris told me I was crazy for saying mid-90s, and I was.
If you said mid-90s, I definitely said that you're crazy.
I all weekend I went through old tape trying to figure it out, and I could not find it.
If you said that, I definitely would.
I'm going to find it.
I definitely will jump on the side that said, yeah, you're probably crazy.
Well,
Padres cut payroll. I can't remember the exact number, but they cut a lot.
100 mil.
They cut. We'll say 90. Cut 90 mil. They traded one of their best players. They lost another one. Lost 3 starters in free agency, and they had a 93 win season. And perhaps one of the toughest divisions in baseball, at least the top half.
Them in the AL East, the NL West and AL East.
It's quite a remarkable thing. We go back to the beginning of the season and where the Padres were and how we were talking about it. I think Jesse brought this up on air yesterday. Him and I were bullish that the Padres would be better than they were last year. And we thought that would lead to the playoffs. We'd both be lying if you asked us now. If we said, "Oh, you guys thought they'd get to 93 wins?" We're like, "Oh yeah,
yeah, I totally would. Totally did.
We didn't. But we thought they'd be a playoff team. We didn't think the National League West would be that good.
No, the Giants were right there for a while. They fell off. The Diamondbacks have been there all year.
There was a time in I would say June-ish that you thought 89 wins would get you, 88 wins would get you into postseason play.
That was pre-All-Star break. We were
Pre-All-Star
still wondering if this team was going to get to 85 wins.
Didn't happen. It turns out, what's the records we got here in this Mets?
The records for the team. Let me see. It is, the Mets 89, Braves 88 wins.
So it's going to take you at least 89 wins to get in.
Man, you guys are kind of spot on, though.
We're kind of close. We're kind of close.
Is that usually, I mean, 89 wins seems like a pretty round number.
It took less than that last year, right? The Padres missed by 2 games, I believe.
Yeah, they did.
So 84 wins is what it took last year. And it goes to show you that every year is in a bubble of itself. No 100-win teams this year for the first time in a long time. Yet it seemed like it was more competitive from start to finish than it has been in quite some time. So
I also feel like this rookie class has Joey Lucchesi off the wall. We're still watching the second game between the Mets and the Braves. Soler in the second. The double. But I feel like the rookie class this year, all the way across the board, was pretty good. Class. And so that makes competition a lot better.
It was expected that the rookie class, I mean, Jackson Cherio was I think, the favorite.
Yeah, him and
Paul
Jackson
Skeens.
Holiday.
Yeah, that's right. Those were the 2 names we kept hearing at the beginning of the year.
It wasn't even the 3 Jacksons. It was the 2 Jacksons.
Right. We didn't hear about Jackson Merrill.
Which here in San Diego, we definitely knew what he was capable of, but I don't think we knew he was capable of
and
everything that he did.
That'd be another cap if somebody was like, oh, yeah, I knew Jackson was going to hit 290 and have 24 bombs and 85 RBIs or 84, whatever it was.
Don't even get me started.
All cap.
Don't even get me started about this rookie of the year that's going to go to Paul Skeens because he threw 2 innings against the Yankees on Saturday. It's ridiculous.
Have you wrapped your mind around that?
Oh, I've accepted it. It's going to happen. Paul Skeens is going to win.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
It went off the top of the wall.
I don't know how it's going to end. But I'm partial to Jackson. I'm partial to everyday players that lace it up every day. They don't have to wait every
150-something games for him this year.
A rookie playing a position he'd never played before. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Here's Jackson Merrill hit 292 for the season. That's tied for top 12 with Stephen Kwan and Ketel Marte. I mean, he is in the top 20.
Yeah, that's not rookie.
No, that's across baseball.
That's across baseball. Now, listen, what Paul Skeens did was amazing. He just didn't do it as long. And that's my only beef with it, is that, Jackson was here from the time this team flew to Korea and was inserted in the lineup all but 12 games. I'm guessing. It was 150-something. I just think that means something. And he's able to do the hardest thing in the sport.
He appeared in 156.
He appeared there, so even the days he didn't start, he was in the game helping at some point.
And that's with him missing like 1 or 2 games because of that knee thing that he had late in the year. Like really late in the year, and he's fine now. What was it? How did he hurt his knee?
I don't remember him hurting his knee.
He did. It was at home. And then
he fouled the ball off his knee.
That's
he fouled
right.
the ball off his back knee.
That does not feel good, I'm sure. I'm sure.
It doesn't. But a really great season. Now, all that being said, hate to tell you this, none of it matters anymore. And I say that because, Padres in 22 really backed into the postseason. They didn't go out and get on this amazing hot streak at the end. They pretty much like they had been all of the second half. But as soon as that season ended and everybody went to 0, it was a different team. From the Mets series all the way through the Dodgers series, they battled like heck against the only other team that got hotter than them in the Phillies that year. It was a remarkable run. And I bring that up to say that team didn't look anything like this team has throughout the course of the regular season.
Absolutely. This team is I'll say it, a more fun team than that team was. I mean, there's so many things about this team that I love, and it's the camaraderie, it's the getting the job done when they needed to. It's just everything that they've done this year. What were they, the first team ever to do a triple play, a no-hitter, come back from 8 runs down, and then there was one more thing, and they're the first team in the history of the sport. 2 sets of back-to-back home runs. Only team ever to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. Padres have had a wonderful season, and I think there's more to come. All right, I'm getting the break sign, so let's get to break. We'll be able to kind of break down some of what's going on in this Mets Atlanta game as the Braves just take a 1-0 lead on a bloop single by Urshela. And so, I think as we saw in the last game, this probably won't end 1-0, especially with the pitchers that are both throwing for both sides. Neither of them have their best guy in. Chris Sale was scratched right before this start with back spasms. He hadn't made his last 2 starts prior to this. My guess is it has something to do with those back spasms. Again, Mets won the first game. If they win the second game, by them I mean the Mets, Diamondbacks are in. Diamondbacks will go to Milwaukee. Mets will come here. If the Braves win game 2, they lost game 1. If they win game 2, Mets go to Milwaukee. Braves come here.
Either way, someone's going to have to fly cross country tonight and play tomorrow.
Whatever.
That's fine with me.
Not our problem.
Not our problem. We already got in.
We took care of business. All right, let's jump away. Let's get to break. We'll be able to talk a little bit more about what happened in game 1. A lot of fun baseball stuff that happened in game 1. We'll talk about it on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris. This hour is brought to you by Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale. Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale, the official rally pint of the playoffs. Watch all of the San Diego postseason action at the Ale Smith Tasting Room in Miramar with game day specials on the great 394 beer and more. Root for the home team with other fans while enjoying the game with sound. Don't miss out. 394, it's a good beer to enjoy a baseball game with.
Never got that one. I'm a little. I never got to try that one.
Can't try it. Sorry.
There's certain beers that come out that everybody talks about, and I'm like, I'll never get to try it.
No, you won't. It's delicious,
it's okay.
though. I can tell you. It's
delicious.
delicious.
If you say it, I believe you.
It is delicious. I'm a beer snob now.
Really?
Yeah. I hated beer for most of my life.
Really?
Yes. And then
why? It's so good.
I mean, because I was no disrespect.
You were an athlete.
No disrespect. No. Had nothing to do with that. I still drank alcohol, but it just wasn't beer. Has nothing to do with that. Just the other stuff. The early beers, they didn't.
Oh, like Coors Light, Bud Light,
my dad's stuff,
Busch Light.
My dad drank Coors. It was like,
did he drink the banquet Coors or Coors Light?
Silver Bullet, like lights.
Okay,
the lights. Yes, he'd have one every 5 months, right?
I don't understand that, but sure.
So, that was like my first taste, and then I that to college and. My roommates were drinking Red Ribbon and Pats and
Red Stripes.
Red Stripes, yeah. With those that stuff that tastes pretty bad.
I was a big Newcastle guy.
What was the other cheap beer? Natty Ice they used to have.
Natty Light's good too. Keystone when I was in Colorado. Keystone was the stuff.
That was the foundation I was working from. I didn't enjoy those.
Okay, I understand it now that you're
394 comes along and it's like, yo, this tastes good.
No one has to. People in the chat are saying, "Sorry, Scrape." No one has to apologize. Everybody is allowed to enjoy their alcoholic beverages. I just don't allow myself to enjoy alcoholic beverages. It's okay.
I'm sure the evil side of all of us. There's a piece of us that would love to see you have a drink.
Oh, our guy Will. He tells me all the time.
Scravy.
He tells me all the time if I could just have one night with the old man Scravy. Oh, one night. I'm like, I don't think you want it.
I think there are a lot of us that would enjoy the old Matt one time. Just the experience.
I don't think you guys want that.
I'll take your word for it. We don't want it. Let's talk about game one of this series. By the way, my Aztecs took a tough one this weekend, man.
Yeah.
The Chippewas got them.
Not good.
Not good at all.
That
one hurt.
And please stop calling for Sean Lewis's job.
Yeah, come on, we gotta relax on this. By the way, it's not like people are lining up to take the job right now. So let's chill on firing our head coach. It's been 3 games. What? 3 games? 4 games?
No, 4.
4 games.
Maybe 5.
Is it 5 already?
I think it's 4.
4. Yeah, I think they're 1-3.
It's bad that I don't know. That means that they're not playing well.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not like there's not exciting baseball season that's happening right now.
If they were 4-0, I would know that they're 4-0.
Touche. I can't argue.
Remember when Chris said they need to come out, they need to throw a bunch of touchdowns in the first game, and they need to score 70.
It's been, I think it's important. We got a freshman quarterback, a new head coach, and at times it's looked like I think we imagined it. Look, they had 20 before I even turned the game on. They had 21 points. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is the first half.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, this is we're back to good. We have to a good start there.
Yes.
And then it stayed at 21 for a long time.
It did.
Man,
and then the Chippewas won.
The Chippewas.
How are you letting Chippewas beat Aztecs?
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about this game one, because there were so many things between the Mets and Braves that it was like a pamphlet of today's baseball, right? You had a starter and for the Braves, who was it? Schwellenbach. Dealing.
Yes.
Really hadn't been touched. He gave up a couple hits. I believe it was the 6th or 7th. He got to the 7th. I think he had a walk or gave up a hit. They go get him. Mind you, the Mets hadn't scored any runs to this point. They go get him. They bring in Jimenez. He proceeds to give up the ghost. Right? So
give up the ghost.
They tie the game. Eventually, a big bomb puts them up 3, I believe. Right?
Yes.
Put them up 3.
6-3. Schwellenbach went 7.
He went 7. So on the 8th, that happened.
Yeah.
So they stuck with him pretty long. So that one, that's not necessarily by the book. They go get him after the walk. The bullpen gives it up. Mets, they go new school baseball. They bring their closer in right now.
Yeah.
He proceeds to give it up.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
And some.
Yeah.
Braves have the lead going into the 9th.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, the Braves had to go to Iglesias to finish the 8th.
Yep.
He comes back out for the 9th. He gives it up. Francisco Lindor, who had a big hit earlier in the game to get him to within 1. Ice cold is the exact way to describe that. 2-run shot. They go on to win. Diaz, by the way, came out again and finished the 9th. A little bit of not too much excitement there in that 9th. So they're in. But it was earlier in that game, in the big inning for the Mets, they had a chance to bunt, get the runner over. They didn't. Iglesias gets a knock. So there was I say that to all of it to say that none of it is bulletproof, right? The analytics aren't bulletproof. Coaching with your eyes or heart or whatever you want to say isn't bulletproof. You have to manage. You have to make decisions. This goes for managers and players in the moment. And that's why sometimes, the analytic stuff isn't gonna go your way, because you got to kind of be looking at what's happening plus what you get on the paper. It's got to be a both, and then you got to actually make the decision for yourself. I just thought that was interesting the way
he had 94 pitches when he was taken out. So if you're looking at the paper's probably screaming at you to get him out of the game.
In terms of Schwellenbach, Schwellenbach. I like saying that. I think that was the right move. You go get him 94 pitches. He's got you through 7. You're into the 8th, right? So I think that's the way you end up going in that situation.
I was just watching awe.
But it also, in the playoffs, that's exactly how it's going to be managed on the Mets side, right? Yes. They went and got there. That's how we see it a lot of times. You go get your closer for the biggest part of the game, and it almost backfired. Thankfully, Iceman himself, Francisco Lindor, came through, but otherwise it would have been a disastrous move.
And to do it on the road, too.
By the way, he had just thrown 26 pitches the day before because he hadn't pitched in forever.
Yeah.
So they got him some work. 26 pitches, I bet you, not exactly what they were hoping for when they got him in to get some work. Probably a little more, but he was still ready to go the next day.
He's not been very... We're still talking Diaz, right?
Yeah, he's been inconsistent.
Yeah, he has been very inconsistent for how much money he's being paid.
You always got to throw that part in there, huh?
Well, yeah. That's what
for
we
how
measure
much money
people by.
He's being paid.
That's what we measure people by these days.
Lastly, a little bit of I told you so. Farhan Zaidi is no longer president of baseball operations.
Yeah.
Remember that story we went over maybe a couple weeks ago? Or right after Chapman signed the big deal.
It was right after Matt Chapman did that.
We talked about it, and I said, this isn't a good thing for Farhan. Because
you mean when someone else is negotiating good contracts for your own team? Yeah, okay.
That is never a good thing.
Isn't that your job?
That's like the one thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
the big thing. Like if you're gonna free agency comes, you sign guys. You keep guys. Instead, Buster Posey out of left field comes in and gets this done. Didn't even know Buster Posey was involved like that.
I didn't either.
And guess what? Now he has Farhan's job.
Which, honestly,
talk about ice cold.
That is ice cold.
That is ice cold.
Farhan had his time. He definitely had more than enough time to turn that around.
I am by no means saying the Giants weren't in their right mind by making this move. We've gone over at least 3 off seasons that didn't go their way since he's been there. The first one I think we were willing to give a pass on, but you struck out on my man for the Twins, Correa.
Mm-hmm.
You swung and missed at Arson.
Arson Judge.
Arson didn't get there.
John Heyman said Arson Judge is a giant.
You really lucked into Chapman and Snell because they ended up not getting the deals that they were supposed to, so it fit. And those deals to me that they signed are, I think, a microcosm of what Farhan's problem was. It just seemed like he was too reluctant to take any risk at all. He only wanted to do the things that he felt the value was perfectly matched up.
Yeah, he was protecting his job instead of
which is why they had run it the way they had for so long, right?
Yeah.
Which with the ultimate platoon team and that was the value baseball right there. It didn't work out, cost him his job. So Buster Posey is now on the clock.
I'm very interested to see how he does. I feel like he's going to be good at it because he's good at everything he does in the baseball world. But
he's extremely smart. He knows baseball. He clearly understands players because he got Chapman to sign that extension. I think he's going to do a great job. So, and then this is a move, kind of an old move, right? A former player.
Yeah.
This is something we used to see in like the 90s and early 2000s. We've kind of moved away from that, and I don't know. This is
maybe they saw the Rangers last year with Chris Young being the GM.
That's
baseball operations guy.
I'm not saying that all baseball players will get it right. God knows that a lot of us wouldn't do that job well. But these two certainly are off. Chris won a World Series last year. Buster Posey getting an opportunity now. Maybe we're starting to see things kind of change again. All right, let's break away. One of my favorite people of all time will be joining us next. We'll highlight this postseason. His former team, already has a bye. Jimmy Rollins will talk to us a little bit. You're going to see plenty of him on TBS coming up here as a playoff start. He'll join us next on Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Wood.
2:40 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby, Gwynn and Chris. Jimmy Rollins joins us here shortly. I see the chat. I see you guys making the point that it was 2 outs when they brought in Diaz.
There's 2 on, 1 out.
2 on, 1 out. It don't make a difference to me. 5 outs after 26 pitches the night before. It's a gamble.
It's
almost
a huge
cost him.
gamble.
Nonetheless, point taken. Joining us here on Gwynn and Chris, one of my favorite individuals ever, Jimmy Rollins, former shortstop of the Phillies, joins us. You'll see a lot of him coming up here on TBS as the playoffs roll. Jimmy, J-Roll, how are you, my man?
I am well. I'm excited about what's happening in baseball. Game 1 was probably the best game of the year with everything on the line. Seeing my guy Lindor once again prove why he should probably be the NL MVP. I know everybody's up on Shohei, but man, you talking about value. We're not talking about outstanding. We're talking about value. But I'm also excited for this AL matchup, which we'll be covering on TBS. There's a lot going on, and honestly, I'll just throw this out there because I sent it to our group chat. I think the wild card series should be played the way this series is right here. It should be a doubleheader on the first day. If there's a sweep, the team earns their day off. If not, then you get that next day, and that way the strategy and how do you manage, games now that the NL is no longer with the DH. Now that the game is no longer with the pitcher hitting, it's all DH. I think that adds some strategy. You're talking about one exciting day potentially of baseball around the league. And with that said, hello, my friend.
you want ultimate chaos. Well, I gotta ask you a little bit. You threw it out there. Educate us on the Lindor Ohtani MVP conversation, because it seems like a foregone conclusion that everybody is saying Ohtani. But you're making a case for Lindor.
So Ohtani, what he did, 50-50, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. He only affects one side of the baseball, and you could call it bias. The same way I don't feel a pitcher should win MVP. I don't care what they do. They should be Cy Young. That's your MVP for that. A position player affects the ball every day on both sides of the ball. And Ohtani, he's only affecting on the offensive side. And, can a DH win MVP? There's arguments because I don't think it's happened. And we've had some great DHs, and Ohtani seems to be an exception. They've already made a rule change for him that way he can pitch and hit and do everything else you can. So I get it, and I get the hype around Shohei, and I love Shohei. I was there. I got his rookie card, and I know that thing is up in value, so I appreciate you, Shohei. But as we talk about value to a team, the Mets are not there in this position today and didn't clinch today without Lindor, and he proved it, in my opinion, with that big 2-run home run and the top of the ninth. Without that, they're not there. They're playing for their lives right now in Game 2, but instead they're on. Now, he's been through injuries, and right now he's battling through injuries, and we're talking about value. We're outstanding player. Shohei Ohtani is the most outstanding player in the game this year. What he's done is outstanding. But value to the success of your team, there's no way the Mets are there without Lindor, and that's why it's called the most valuable player, and that's where I give him the value award.
Consider everyone listening educated. Let's talk a little bit about this doubleheader. There's a lot of conversations about it being fair, unfair. I know I come from the standpoint of, you take care of business, you're not in this situation. Now, weather is what caused this game to be pushed to this point. Do you see some unfairness involved in this doubleheader here today?
No, not at all. Not at all. I personally, I love it just for the excitement. It is going back to when we had the one-game play-in, and baseball was a buzz. You had one day of just chaos. That was like our Super Bowl. You sat there, and somebody was going home, and somebody was going on. And today, you kind of get that feel again. And we can't control the weather. They've looked at the schedule, and you've been through it. You look at the schedule, and you look at common days off, and you try to figure it out. But it just so happened to be this is a very unusual situation, and for the game itself, I love it. I mean, the excitement of today, and it isn't about fair or unfair, and I'm with you. If you handle your business over 162, you avoid being in a situation. But if you are in a situation, you ask those guys on the field, they don't care. It's what do we
Yeah.
need? What do we need to do to get in? And that's all you care about.
Talking to Jimmy Rollins here. He is an analyst for TBS heading into the playoffs. And you just talked about how you don't think a pitcher can win an MVP. So I'm going to go towards Rookie of the Year because I personally think that Paul Skeens is going to win just because of how things have been going as of late with the media coverage. But who do you think should win National League Rookie of the Year, Jackson Merrill or Paul Skeens?
I think Jackson should win. I understand that Paul Skeens, and this is separate from value to a team, because what Paul Skeens did was absolutely outstanding. I think he had a sub-2 ERA, 11-6 record or something like that, and that's outstanding. And that should be separate from the team, 100%. But it's hard in this situation to take a team that is as bad as the Pirates and a team that has been as successful as the Padres and the role that Jackson has played in that team. Big hits with 2 outs, big grand slams, plays a good defense, and is a key component to their success. And like both of them, one was in college last year and he's in the big leagues. The other was in A-ball, and he finds himself in the playoffs. So it's tough. And I do agree with the hype around Paul Skeens starting the All-Star game, all the success that he had. It's hard to not say he isn't the Rookie of the Year. But by that same token, I think it's the same way for Jackson Merrill. And maybe it's a co-Rookie of the Year situation. I don't think that any of them deserve to lose it, and they both deserve to win it. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm glad I don't have a vote.
No doubt. Jimmy Rollins joins us, TBS analyst. One of the best I've ever had the privilege of playing against and playing with. Jimmy, you had a lot of playoff ABs experience. Just take us through the difference. I know in my 3 at-bats of experience on the playoff stage, the one thing that stood out to me was the heightened focus all the way around. Talk about what it's like stepping in the box in the playoffs versus during the regular season.
There is a different focus. I mean, even from the umpires. Now I'll start from the back of it. The umpires actually call a true strike zone. They start caring less about a quest tech, and it's like, this is a strike, this is a ball, and it becomes more definitive because you're not trying to get through 162. If it's a 4-hour game, then so be it. And I think the umpires appreciate that. But each bat means more. Each at-bat means more. This at-bat can win the game. And it's the same during the season, albeit, but winning a game in a playoff means you're one game closer to the next level, one game closer to raising that trophy and have a parade down your respective Broad Street. And that's where the heightened focus comes in. What needs to get done? What pitches can I do damage with? You start paying more attention to that. What are the pitcher's tendencies? You start paying more attention to that. Runners in scoring position, this is what this guy likes to do. Run scoring position, this is what I typically do. Do I change that? Because there are no secrets.
Right.
I can't surprise them unless I do something different. But as a hitter, you have to remember the pitchers don't all of a sudden invent pitches, all of a sudden throw harder. Everything remains the same. It's just more emphasis on the result of the at bat. And that's where I think you can see people fold under pressure or step up and meet the challenge.
Talking to Jimmy Rollins here, and yes, Tony was right. He does have a lot of postseason experience. He's played in 50 postseason games, so that's a lot. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on the Padres heading into the playoffs as they stand right now. They have been incredible since the All-Star break. They're continuing to win. What do you think their chances are here in the playoffs?
The Padres are a scary team. I think everybody in the NL has to have their eyes on the Padres just because the way they've played with their revamped bullpen, what Luis Arias is able to do at the top of that lineup. They're no longer a one-trick pony just licking in to drive the ball out the yard. They have an all-around game. So I really, really, really like the Padres as a team to get to the NLCS. They've proven that they can play with the Dodgers. They've done it before. They've knocked them out. And if I'm anybody in the NL, I'm saying to myself, we have to have a lead before the 6th inning because it goes back to what Cleveland did way back in 2016. They will shorten that game up. They have that type of bullpen.
Jimmy, I noticed you said the NLCS, and on the other side of the bracket is some alum for you in the Philadelphia Phillies. They've played pretty good baseball for most of the year. They've kind of slowed down here on the back half. Now, that could be because they had such a comfortable lead. They certainly have had their nicks and bruises. Is there any concern about your flying Phils?
As of September, no. August, I was definitely scared. It's like, what's going on, guys? And, yeah, a lot of it does come from when you have a nice, comfortable lead. You're looking ahead. You can't help but look ahead because you know what's out there. They've been to the World Series and lost. They've been to the NLCS and lost. And you're kind of chomping at the bit, just wanting the season to be over so we can go ahead and get to the playoffs and give ourselves a chance to win the World Series again. But, they had some wake-up calls. They had some injuries. Guys had some great first halves and kind of came back to earth, I guess, the second half. Alvarado, I think, has a 4 ERA, which isn't typical for him. Bryce battling through things, but Castellanos completely turned it around his first half to second half.
Yeah.
Schwarber's been Schwarber all year long. So they have all the pieces. Nola, he's a big game pitcher. Wheeler, he's up there for Cy Young. Ranger, they got him back. So if he's healthy and pitches healthy, like mentally and physically, he'll be great. But he's also a big game pitcher, and he doesn't, shy up in the moment. It's almost like he goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
So they have the pieces. They have the experience. It's about everything coming together at the right time because we know the best team doesn't always win. A good team will win, and a team that's hot will beat anybody in the world.
We're talking to Jimmy Rollins here on 97.3 The Fan, and MLB Network put out a list of the top 5 people that have the most pressure heading into the playoffs, and Bryce Harper was on that list. And so I thought it was kind of strange that he would be on that list, but what do you think it would mean for Bryce Harper to go out and win a World Series? Do you think it would alleviate pressure, or what are your thoughts on him?
Well, I mean, there's pressure to winning, period. Let's just start there. And it doesn't matter what uniform, which name is on the back or the front, there's pressure to winning. That's what we play the game for. It's a game that we grew up, and we put that pressure on ourselves since the time we were 4 or 5 years old. Saying it's 3-2 count and you're trying to throw a strike or you're trying to get that hit. That pressure's been there. So that's something that we live with. But outside of that, pressure is what you make it. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. And you're always saying, I'm the one that's going to win. And if you say you're going to win, you don't feel the pressure because you'll do whatever it takes to win. And also, baseball is not a individual game. Bryce can't hit every time. He can't pitch every time. He can't be there to make every single play. He has his moments. And as long as he's doing his job and inspiring his teammates to be better, there's nothing more that he can do. The results you live with, obviously, he wants to win. He wants a championship. Big money and a big market, and he came there to win a championship. I'm sure he's feeling, a way about the Nationals winning when he left. But with all that being said, if Bryce shows up and everybody does their part, because the big guys, they're going to have their moments. It's going to be, I hate to say the role players, there's no such thing. It's going to be the non-superstars that are going to be the ones that contribute the most, because they're doing their job, they're going to have to see the big guys in the lineup. They're going to have to see Schwarber, Turner, and Bryce. But if the quote-unquote role players aren't, then we can work around the big guys.
Yeah, that's when it gets thick, when the guys the non-stars are doing their job. That's when these teams are at their best. Jimmy, as always, man, appreciate you coming on. We look forward to listening to and laughing because you guys got a good group on TBS. We're looking forward to it all, my man. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Jimmy Rollins there, MLB analyst, former Phil, possible Hall of Famer. I mean, that's how good Jimmy Rollins was. Appreciate his
hot take to come in.
He did, didn't he?
To a doubleheader playoff?
Get this DH up out of here.
What?
We want everyday guys. I ain't mad at that at all. All right, let's get to break. 3 o'clock hour on the other side. We going Daily Gambit?
We'll touch on that, but I want to talk about the rotation, too. Get your thoughts on who you think's going to be in it.
Scrape wants to talk rotation,
yes.
So we're talking rotation.
That's
right.
Chris.
Well, we have our first pitching change of Game 2. Grant Holmes has come out of the game leading. Braves up 1-0. Grant Holmes gives me Rob Beck vibes.
Total Rod Beck vibes.
I mean, I don't know if he's intentionally doing this, but it is a pretty good dead-on perm hairstyle coming over the shoulders. He's got the little mustache that Rob Beck had. Now all he needs is a very high-pitched voice, and he will be on his way to being Rob Beck reincarnated.
Hey, everybody, it's Grant Holmes.
Right. 1-0 lead, Braves
It's Mickey
ahead.
Mouse.
We were talking a little bit about the Daily Gambit, but we're going to push that aside and talk a little rotation. Scrape, you had some thoughts on it. What you got?
Yeah,
man?
before we get into that, join 97.3 The Fan tomorrow as we broadcast all day at Baja Ricks in the gas lamp leading up to Game 1 of the baseball playoffs. Ben and Woods will kick us off at 6 a.m. as we celebrate the postseason, presented by Santo Super Premium Additive-Free Tequila. Santo, work hard, play loud. Now, the questions about the rotation going on right now, and sometimes I think that's a crazy take on the chat. I'm not going to bring that up.
Oh, we talking chat rotation.
Let's go into that in a second. You're right. Let's talk actual.
I'm going wherever you want to go, Scrape.
I'm going to go with the actual conversation, then we'll go to the chat. So Dennis Lynn predicted that the 3 pitchers in the rotation are going to be Dylan Cease, Michael King, and Joe Musgrove.
In that order?
I don't necessarily know that order, but I would assume that's the order.
Okay.
One name missing from that. Yu Darvish. Dennis Lynn also thinks that Yu Darvish could come out of the bullpen in this wild card series. I think he pitched on Friday, so he wouldn't be available again until Wednesday. So this may be more of a rest decision than like not wanting to pitch him decision by putting him on in the bullpen. I don't know.
I'll ask you who of the 4, if you had to put the 4 in order of who's pitching best right now, who would you go with?
What I just said, Dylan Cease, Michael King, and Joe Musgrove.
So there you go. And that's Yu Darvish has pitched well. He's pitched really well.
He has.
But, I think given the time he's been away, and this is that was his 4th start back, I believe. So this will be his 5th one since coming back. I see it. I see Dylan Cease. I see Michael King. And if for some reason it gets away, you got red hot ears coming in on Game 3, and
who's red hot? Oh, Joe Musgrove.
Come on, dog. Get your stuff together, man.
I was like, did someone have red ears this year? And
no, not this year. But
2 years ago.
If the Mets end up winning this game, we'll have a rematch. Only different venues this time.
You won't have to fight with the Mets fans when you're calling the game anymore.
They can't get to our spot. We won't have a shouting match like we did a couple years back with the very upset Mets fan in Game 3.
This is why I think it's so hard to predict the rotation, because here and there I've been trying to talk about the playoff rotation for the past 3 weeks, and never once did I leave Yu Darvish out of it. And now, there's news coming out that Yu Darvish is possibly not even going to be in the rotation.
So where's the chat at on this?
The chat is saying that you pay attention to matchup one person on the chat is saying you pay attention to kind of matchup base stats for that pitcher. So, for example, Dylan Cease, if he's not good against the Braves, you don't start him against the Braves. And I like you, Taps, but I think that's a little out there.
You like what?
That's the name, Taps.
I
think it's a little out there to look at career numbers against the team and then decide whether or not you're going to start that pitcher. Dylan Cease is the guy who should go in Game 1.
There are some times where you just kind of got to throw the numbers out. Dylan Cease is your top guy.
Yeah,
he just is.
He's been all year,
all season long.
Him and Michael King, right there,
and that's who's going behind him.
I also, because Paul said on the roundtable last week that he would have liked to see maybe Michael King come out of the bullpen. Did his hat just come off?
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
A pitcher the Braves pitcher
came
threw
off,
it.
And his hat came off as he threw it. He got the punch out too, which made it even cooler, right? I don't know if that hat messed up Bader.
It just came right off his head and fell on the ground. That is really interesting. But anyway, Paul was saying that he would like to see, Dylan Cease gets into trouble. Then you have Michael King come out of the bullpen, and you got a guy like we're talking about contingency plans. Like, who are you bringing out of the bullpen if the starter doesn't start well. Like, you're 3 innings in, you need to pull the starter. Who's the next up? Is it someone like Yu Darvish? Is it someone like Michael King? Is it...
You're definitely not using Michael King.
For the bullpen.
Under any circumstance.
He's going to start.
Yes. He's starting game 2. Like, yeah, no, that's silly. I think that's silly.
I think it's before I realized that Michael King was going to be in the rotation, I thought maybe that would be good to have him in the bullpen.
Fine, if he hadn't pitched well enough to be in a rotation, I think that's a good. That might be work. That might be worth it. But he has pitched well enough to be in a rotation. He's been Padres. You can argue best starter based off ERA. I mean, he has been that good. So I think Dennis has it probably right.
He's also talking to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't just come out of the wind with that. I think he's kind of piecing it together, right? I think Cease, King, Joe, if need be. If you sweep, guess what? You probably can go Joe Yu in the next series. And
the DS.
Man, I mean, this is why teams fear or don't want to deal with the Padres, because and that's just the pitching element of it, right? And as Jimmy said, it's a 6-inning game, right? The Padres get a 2-run, 3-run lead. It's going to be tough. The 1-run games are always, can always go up, can go the other way. But you start getting multi-runs against a bullpen like the Padres have, it's going to be an uphill climb.
Well, in 2024, they're 40-25 in games decided by 1 or 2 runs. Last year, 25-42.
I was about to say it's almost an exact flip.
Everything is almost the exact flip. Gwynn lost in extra innings this year, 10-2. Last year, 2-12. 4-run innings this year, they had a lot more. 47. 2023, they had 28. And then comeback victories, they had 38 this year, and then they had 27 last year, which seems like a lot for a team that didn't.
I mean, that's how
seemingly do a lot of winning.
That's how they got to 82 and 80.
That is true.
Some of them comebacks help get them over 500.
Let's talk about the Eliminator real quick.
Wait, we just gonna skip from baseball to the Eliminator?
No. I panicked there for a second. I was like, okay, that conversation didn't go on as long as I thought it was going to go.
But Yu Darvish to the bullpen, and that's the other thing. You don't know how these starters will perform coming out. It's a different monster. Like getting up on the call, getting loose. A lot of starters take longer to get ready. And
he's never pitched out of the bullpen in his major league career, but he pitched
in the World Baseball Classic.
Yes,
I don't remember how he did.
It wasn't great. Remember last year was a struggle for him all the way around.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Padres are in a good spot. Roster doesn't have to be named. And, of course, the Padres are still waiting to see who they're going to play. Right now, they're playing the Mets. Unless the Mets lose this game,
then they're playing the Braves.
So,
and you were saying, because before the show, I was like, really don't want to see the Mets. But you were saying, I don't want to see the Braves.
I'm not saying I don't want to see anybody. I want to see anybody because I think the team is that good. I think the Braves are the more difficult matchup. They got 2 lefties in that rotation, and Sale and Fried.
And his back is going to magically feel better tomorrow.
Guess what, y'all? I wouldn't be surprised if that man is pitching tomorrow.
That would be kind of crazy to hold him out of the game that you need to win to put you in the playoffs, and then you lose.
I mean, there's going to be some questions to answer. I mean, no, there won't, because if they don't have to play the next day, it's just a back spasms kept him out.
And you got to think too.
And as I said, I think he missed his previous 2 starts to this. The back spasms probably has something to do with that.
Oh yeah, has to. I mean, I don't think that he's going to sit out the biggest game of his season. And he actually won the Triple Crown today, the pitching Triple Crown. Him and Tarek Skubal both won.
Who didn't win the Triple Crown?
Shohei Ohtani, baby. Everybody enjoy that laugh.
I love it.
314 to 310. I mean, Shohei did everything he could in the last 2 weeks. I don't think he
is that where Luis finished at 314?
He finished at 314.
If he had went 1 more point down, he would have been tied for the lowest batting title win.
Really, 313 is
313. Mr. Tony Gwynn. 87, I believe it was.
There was only 87. Wow. There was only 7 players, unless Marcell Ozuna finishes this game under 300. There's only 7 players this year that hit 300.
Yeah, I think that's about the same number as the previous year. So it's all up from here. Padres back in action tomorrow, 5:38, not 5:40. Not 6:40, 5:38, and we are the primetime game. It's a big deal.
So tomorrow we have Baja. We're going to all be out of Baja Rick's from 6 a.m. until Sammy Levitt's pregame, which he will be doing in the loft. So you can come down to Baja Rick's and you can hang out with us before the game, get something to eat, get something to drink. I will recommend that everybody get there very early. Because last time the playoffs were here, it was atrocious downtown. It was very hard to get anywhere downtown. You know what's funny
is I don't remember anything other than being in the stadium and it was raining. And people were just like, I've never seen San Diegans so willing to get wet in my entire life.
It was euphoric.
That's the exact word I used. It was euphoria.
Everybody was like kind of swaying with the rain.
I don't know if that actually happened, but it felt like it was happening in like real time as they were eliminating the Dodgers. That's what I can remember.
I listened to another shameless plug. I've been doing a lot of these shameless plugs on my 12 Games in October podcast, but I was listening to one over the weekend just to kind of get pumped up for the game. And that episode I listened to, do you remember there was a drone delay during the game?
At our place?
Yeah.
I do remember that
there
now that you mentioned it. There was some idiot
that was flying their drone over the field, and they had to stop, and then Jake Cronenworth almost like threw a ball at it because it was coming after him.
I just remember it hovering over for a long time and then just taking off into the sky and like never be seen again.
Yeah. It's yeah. Just weird things happen during these games. I mean, you had the goose. I hope
the goose. That's another thing that I forgot
the rally
about.
Goose.
I don't know if it was a rally goose, but
it definitely.
I know
was
we're going to claim it as the rally goose. It literally hasn't showed up ever since.
The goose finally made it to where it's trying to go.
You know what I remember about that series too? It was like 101 degrees in L.A. that first series. It was blazing hot.
It was, and then when the Phillies were here, it was like 95, 100 degrees during one of those day games as well. But everybody get down there early. Everybody, be safe. Take the trolley, take a bus, take an Uber.
Listen, this is what needs to be said. This is the first series that the Padres have hosted at home in a long time.
Yeah.
I fully expect it to be absolutely bonkers.
If it's bonkers on a Friday night against the White Sox, it's going to be bonkers in the wild card series.
What I do remember about the playoffs is that it was a different focus from our fan base. And that, I mean, they were dialed in from pitch one.
They were focused. They focused on a championship.
They didn't need to be prompted by the board. They just they were in the moment a lot.
When Josh Hader closed out that game on that Friday to win the first game at home, I was in the stands and I legitimately was scared because it was shaking. The people were jumping around so much. It was insane. You could see the stadium moving. I'm ready for this. I'm pumped up.
I'm requiring another level up. Another level up for us.
You want the fans to have another level.
Another level.
First time you're just happy to be there.
That's Josh Hader coming. That's hate watching right there. You know what I'm saying? That's a different type of vibe. I'm talking about like dialed in, pitch one to pitch whatever.
Cheering when you need to cheer, booing when you need to boo.
Represent. Whoever's coming in here, whether it be the Mets or the Braves, they should walk out feeling like, dang, that's some next level stuff right there.
I think they will.
Let's get to break. More Padres when we come up. We got our good, bad, and ugly also coming up a little bit later on. Some good football games last night or yesterday. Last night was a drubbing. We'll get into that. A shellacking.
Which I saw in the headline, and I love it.
There was a bunch of people that didn't want to tackle yesterday, and I don't blame them. Not one bit. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. Here's some traffic.
From the
3:21 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scravy. Before we move to our next segment, a bit of sad news to share. NBA great Dikembe Mutombo passed away.
No.
Yeah, the finger wag is what we know is famous now. I think he was like the first one to really bring it to sports, and he passed away from brain cancer at the age of 56.
58.
58, excuse me.
That is young.
Yeah, man. Sad. Cancer is just a horrible, horrible disease that we have not been able to really wrap our arms around yet in terms of figuring out how to at least slow it down. And I know we've come a long way in advance in medicines and things of that, but it's still taking out far, far too many people
And young people.
Exactly. Obviously, cancer has touched my family, has touched many, many families out there, and so, it just sucks to see somebody young pass away like that.
Yeah, my aunt, she died in her early 40s because of ovarian cancer, and I just saw how her family went through it, and yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Cancer sucks.
It's tough, no doubt.
It is tough. All right, let's get to some more smiley things, I guess I should say. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. I want to start with this. The Diamondbacks are currently sitting in their stadium right now with their bags packed, ready to go to Milwaukee. If they qualify for the playoffs. Why not just have everybody at home? Why all wait there? You can't,
because they won't have time. They can't. Listen, let me tell you.
I guess you're going right to the place.
Let me tell you something about baseball play. You don't give them direction early enough, that might not make that plane might not arrive wherever it's going.
See
until
John
like
Peterson pulling up as it's taking off.
Right, like you got to give them direction. And so, prior to had first and third, 2 outs there. I'm sure everybody in that locker room in Arizona was on their feet as they were hoping a 2-out knock from Pete Alonso, the polar bear, would come through. Instead, he grounded the third inning over. Braves still lead one other. My man Joey Lucchesi right now is pitching a gem.
He is.
Almost 100 pitches now into the 6th, and he's only given up the 1 run.
I got to say, I forgot Joey Lucchesi was still active. I knew that he had been hurt and stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, this is one of those situations where it's like the Mets have clinched. They're like, hey, man, we're going to need you to go out there and
just do it.
Just
eat some innings.
You're on your own because we're not bringing any real bullpen help. I mean, you might be a couple other dudes who may not be on this roster going to pitch, but we're going to leave you out there as long as we possibly can, brother.
Sounds like what the Padres did to Matt Waldron yesterday.
It's exactly what it's virtually the same thing.
I'm happy that he was able to get back on the team for one last go because he's not going to make the playoff roster. Yeah, but he was such an important part of this team for a good period of time there in the middle of the year.
Yeah, man, that's the part that makes you feel kind of bad, right? I mean, at one point earlier this year, it was right after Dylan Cease had a really good start in Chicago, like dominant. It's one of like his first really good start against the Cubs.
I remember that. Yeah.
After that, he kind of fell off a little bit. During that time, I think Joe went on the IL. I think you went on the IL, and Matt Waldron, for I would say about a month span, was the Padres' best pitcher. And even when he didn't have his best night, he was going like 6-7 innings of work. And he was one of the only pitchers at the time, him and King, really doing that. They stabilized that rotation while we had guys out. I mean, Vass, at one point, if I'm not mistaken, we had King, Waldron, Vasquez, Major at one time was in that spot.
Wow. Forgot about that.
And I'm sure I'm missing somebody. But that was kind of how we were, and we had some off days in there, so we were able to kind of skip starts.
It was a little bit of a ragtag thing for a little bit.
Again, this is why Mike Schilt he should win Manager of the Year in the National League. I know he'll have at least one other guy I can think of off the top of my head, Mendoza,
for the Mets.
But I think that's the part that makes you feel kind of bad for Matt, right? He was out there, and listen, he gets it. He's a part of why the Padres are here. Came in, knew the Padres were short because they were already clinched. They're trying to line their guys up, and he went out there and gave some Padres some innings at that point.
Here's what he did in a span of 36 games from May 28th to July 6th.
So it's really almost a month and a half, really.
This is from Kevin Acee. With both you and Joe out, the Padres had 15 quality starts over that time. Waldron turned in 7 of those, and over 14 starts from May 11th through July 24th. His 2.76 ERA was 5th best in the major leagues. I don't think any of us expected him to pitch like that the whole year, but I think he pitched a lot better than we all thought for a lot longer than we all thought he could.
There certainly was a lot of y'all was trying to ship him out after the first 2 starts in April. And
I remember a round table having that topic.
And he really did well. I mentioned it on the air yesterday. It's a classic example. When I was playing and you lined up in there for the first, manager conversation for spring training, it sounds cliche, but it's gonna take at least 40 guys to do this.
I have heard that before.
It literally took that many guys for the Padres this year. I mean, at different points, and all of them at some point have had big games, weeks, in some cases months, that allowed the Padres to get where they are. I mean, Tyler Wade at the beginning of the year was playing a lot because Manny wasn't playing every day at third base, right? And so he's found his niche in there. The Padres bring in Solano. He's like just
the substitute teacher.
The substitute teacher's the perfect mix. Then Peralta. I mean, we could just keep going down the list.
Then the trades.
The trades. I mean, even the guys who, were a part of that pen before that kind of patchworked it together. It's just been it's everything that could go right for the Padres this year, I think has. Unlike last year where it seemed like nothing could go right for the Padres at all.
Nothing. Ugh. I thought it was funny. Chris sent us a picture from the Bronx. He was watching Yankees game.
I thought this was funny.
And he said Grisham hit a home run.
Thickest text said, of course Grisham hits a home run.
Yeah, that is really funny. Maybe Chris is the Grisham whisperer.
Maybe so.
Real quick, because we're going to go into good, bad, ugly on the other side. The Eliminator, we did get the belt. Oh, I forgot to get the belt. It's right outside the door, so I'm going to show you
I'm
guys.
going to grab it.
Oh, he's going to go grab it. We have to take it out of the box. We're going to show you on the other side, but there's only 13 entries left in the Eliminator from over 200 to start the year or the season. And 2 more people have been eliminated because they picked the Steelers and the Saints. Now, Tony's trying to... Oh, there it is. I designed this belt, and I'm very...
Did you really?
I did. I'm very concerned as to how
sweet.
it's here. Oh, look at that!
Come on over here, camera.
The champ is over there.
Champ, right here, baby.
Wow, that's pretty cool, I got to say. So, 13 people are still left in the mix for this Eliminator Challenge, and if you're looking at the camera right now, you get that if you win. That's pretty
that's
sweet.
Man, I must say.
That is really sweet. That turned out way better than I thought it would. But, 13 people left. So, all right, when we get back, we are going to talk about what happened in the NFL. A major injury, lots of good stuff from Derrick Henry. We will take a break here and come back with the good, bad, and the ugly on 97.3 The Fan.
B, Gwynn and Chris, camera's acting up a little bit. Your camera's not even facing you, bro.
Oh, wow. I didn't even move.
Scraby and I are entertaining ourselves during the break.
We are.
It's chat. This is for the chat. Have any of you guys who use Instagram ever accidentally posted a story that you're kind of just looking and you kind of maybe tried to send it to somebody and it ended up in your story and it was embarrassing?
I'm deathly afraid of that, so no.
It's definitely happened to me earlier this year. I didn't share it because I didn't want anybody to know, but now we're a couple weeks away. You can't go back.
You can talk about it now.
You can't go back and find it. I definitely did that. I can't remember, we were coming from somewhere, and I had kind of. First of all, this is another don't do. I had like one adult beverage.
Oh.
And so I'm
That's it?
trying to send my wife something, and I ended up putting it on my story.
Oh.
And didn't know. I didn't even know for hours.
Was this a Shannon Sharp situation?
Nah,
Adam said that on the thing. He said we call that a Shannon Sharp.
Nah. That's different. That's different embarrassment.
Yes.
This is just a meme thought that I had.
Ah, okay.
And I was sending it to her, and I posted it, and it sat there for 3 hours because it was a long
3 hours.
It was a long flight. Before I fell asleep. I woke up and I'm going through my phone. I'm like, yo, why is this on there? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't send it. I actually posted it.
And it's just been sitting online for 3 hours while you're in the air.
500 eyeballs saw it.
Oh.
It was embarrassing.
At least it wasn't something terrible.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't too terrible.
Someone, Trent on the chat said, yes.
Yes, he's done that. Yes, he saw it.
He's done that.
Okay.
Yes, he's done that.
Yeah, even my oldest daughter had to. She was like, "Yeah, I didn't think you post stuff like that," and I just thought, oh, okay.
That's what my dad's doing now.
I was like, no, that wasn't.
I missed this post, but if I would have seen it, I probably would have sent it to you.
I know you would have got. I would have got a text from somebody if somebody who I knew saw it.
Yeah,
because they know I don't get down like that. But either way, we were just talking about that. Did you figure out what it was that you wanted to get back to that the chat was on you about earlier?
No, I can't remember, but I will go back and look because there was something there, and I can't remember. So,
all right. Well,
anyway.
We got a GBU. Good, bad, ugly. After traffic.
The Fan Traffic Center. Here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale. The southbound side of the 805 giving you some problems this afternoon. Few reports of a crash just past Claremont Mesa Boulevard, hit and run accident. Now, not sure if this is the same one or a different one, but just up ahead before Balboa, get this other crash over to the right shoulder. Accident clearing further south of the 805 near H Street. Northbound side of the 805 near H Street, there is a collision. Tow trucks on scene. Appears to be blocking the HOV lane. Also traveling on South 163 near Genesee, we have reports of a stalled vehicle in the center divide. Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale, the official rally pint of the playoffs. Watch all the San Diego postseason action at the Ale Smith Tasting Room in Miramar with game day specials on 394 and more. Root for the home team with other fans while enjoying the game with sound. Don't miss out. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, the other thing that happens sometimes
I just remembered
on Twitter and Instagram is, you start at a certain maturity level, you get older, some of tweets don't apply no more. Now, if you're real bad at this, it can come back and bite you in a much worse way. But Scraby, I feel like some of our listeners have dug up some dirt on you, man.
Yeah, it's not really dirt. I'm not someone who has hid this or anything like that, but it was sent. These tweets were sent during.
Wait. Before you start getting to that,
yeah,
we have to acknowledge the stardom that Matt Scraby is starting to ascend to.
Someone created a fake Facebook profile of me, and I'm like, I'm the last person you should be creating a fake Facebook profile.
All I know is that 2 years ago, nobody was thinking about.
No, and you know what the Facebook profile says? Matt Scraby II. Like I had some kid.
This is what starts to happen, Scrape. So now people are interested enough to find some dirt on you.
And so they went all the way back to 2016.
Oh, So this was the other Scraby that
this was the very end of that Scraby.
This
so
is
this
the
was
Scraby
the most
that some
volatile.
of us would love to like have experienced one time.
Not this guy. This guy was crying in rehab and all
this
this
was
other
okay.
stuff.
So this is
this
at
was
this
at
is
the
rock bottom.
end. It's when because the Giants won the World Series every other year starting at 2010. So it was 10, 12,
I'm aware.
14. Yes, I know. 16, they played the Cubs. The Cubs went on to win the World Series, but they were playing the Cubs. So I was tweeting, like, go Giants, thinking it would be fun. I didn't even work here yet. I mean, I had nothing to do with the 97.3 The Fan Padres radio network.
But Matt Scraby II went out and found all this stuff, huh?
So whoever did, they tweeted me, it seems like you really love the Giants.
It's like, I got you.
I got you. And all it said was, let's go Giants. I'm not ashamed to say it. I grew up in the Bay Area. I think everybody knows. What I can say is over the past, when I sent those tweets, I was drinking still. So I'm glad that was only those that were the ones that I sent.
You clearly were in a good enough spot not to go beyond.
I was working on the sobriety thing.
Okay.
I was
so
working
you were
on
trying at this point.
Failing, but trying.
That's all right. It was the start of getting where you are now.
It was the start. So I saw these this morning and I was like, someone actually took the time to go back in my timeline and check out what I've been saying. So if that's the worst you could find, because I don't tweet crazy stuff. I guess when the 49ers lost the Super Bowl in 2011 to the Ravens.
Did you have some expletives?
No, it was more of like how devastated I was.
Oh, man.
And much like you, I don't remember posting that because I was wasted. Yeah. And I woke up the next morning with a bunch of like comments and I deleted it immediately because it was bad.
I wasn't inebriated. I just
didn't know.
Just one drink gets you a little loose. All of a sudden you ain't quite hitting the buttons right the way you need to. And yeah, that one got me.
Yeah,
all right, let's get into some GBU.
Yeah. Anyway, that was good. All right. Let's start with this. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. The first good game in the good category would be the Falcons beating the Saints 26-24. And it all came down to a long field goal, a 58-yard field goal. Here it is.
Snap spot. Kick from Koo is away. And it is good! 58. And the money shot for Younghoe Koo.
Nice. Money shot.
Yes. 58 yards. I got to say,
and by
kicking
the way,
is incredible this year.
That had more distance to go, too.
It had 61 maybe.
At least.
Kicking's incredible this year.
Kicking is it's funny, right? I don't think anybody was, felt one way or another about the extra point rule, but I feel like it has led us to this point.
Yes.
Like you can't just have you got to have somebody with a leg. It's a weapon now. I think Tucker was like the first one of his kind. Now it seems like teams are finding these guys who have a foot or a leg, I should say. Koo, one of those guys.
He has 58 yards. I mean, the number of 50-yard field goals that have been made this year is crazy. But I put this in there for Adam because Falcons go to 2-2. They end up driving all the way down the field to get that field goal. So good stuff there. Now, last night,
what does Adam need help or what are we doing?
Well, his Braves lost the first game. I just put it there just to make Adam feel good. He got one when Georgia lost in a pretty awesome game. A 17-year-old wide receiver for Alabama.
Upset he is not here.
He'll be here. Well, you won't see him tomorrow, but anyway.
I don't give nothing but what is that? I don't give a piss about nothing but Roll Tide or something along those lines, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
About the Tide.
Tide. Roll Tide. Ravens, they prove that they're still that team. They dismantled the Bills 35-10. Derrick Henry, in his quote-unquote old age, still has a ton of speed.
Two receivers to the left. Here's a handoff. Henry outside the right hash. 15, 20, 25, 30. There goes Henry. Out to midfield. Buffalo 40. Far sideline 30. Henry to the 20. 15, 10-5. Touchdown Ravens.
And the Ravens took Josh Allen out of the game, took everybody from the Bills side out of the game, and 35-10 is a pretty good win for them.
The Ravens look scary in that game.
Yeah.
They have figured out that having Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in their backfield is the best part of their team.
Yeah.
I think Lamar threw the ball 17 times yesterday. He was like 15 of 17 or 13 of 17.
Mark Andrews had like 2 targets.
Yeah.
So
hey, listen.
No catches 2 weeks in a row.
If you're not going to be able to stop that run, and it looked like after a while Buffalo was not interested in tackling Derrick Henry, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
My man was running 21.5 miles per hour. Only 0.2 miles per hour slower than Worthy from the Chiefs, who's supposed to be the fastest dude in the league.
He was the fastest dude in the draft, according to them. But Derrick Henry is underrated through time, I think. I don't know that people give him enough credit for being one of the best running backs in the last 10 years.
No doubt. He was finished 1 yard short of 200, which would have been what?
Seventh 200-yard game, which would have passed O.J. Simpson and a couple other big-name running backs for that.
It was interesting. During the game, they were comparing him to Michael Dickerson.
Eric
Dickerson, excuse me.
Yes.
And watching him run and then putting the kind of photos of Eric Dickerson up makes sense. Big dude.
It does.
Nobody really runs high.
No one wants to tackle him.
No one wants to tackle him.
That was always the worst. Is when I was playing high school football with the Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell as my teammate. Whenever running backs would just run straight at me, and I was like playing scout linebacker, I had no chance.
You know what I remember from my brief moment as a football player my freshman year? You stick your arm out on a running back that is running full speed, and it's just your arm. Your arm is dead for like a long time.
My senior year, we played De La Salle, and De La Salle had a guy named Maurice Jones-Drew.
A guy named, you mean NFL running back?
He returned the opening kickoff even after being tackled and like floated on bodies, and no one knew what would happen. But late in the game, I went in. And I went to go try to tackle him, put my arm out, and my arm, I think, detached, and I had to go get it from the field. It was on the field, detached from my body.
There's all kinds of things that happened on that field that's like, you know what? This ain't it for me.
I thought, oh, okay, that is why I'm not going to play college football, because I can't stop this guy.
Braves pouring it on right now, by the way. 3-0 in the 7th.
Marcelo Zuna. Oh, no, Matt Olson out at second base. Anyway, they just scored a couple runs. 3-0 Braves going into the top of the 8th. Commanders are legit. Jaden Daniels is legit. And Terry McLaurin loves them.
Here's the snap. Arizona breaks 4. Plenty of time for Jaden. Throws over to the middle, into the end zone. That is caught! Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington!
I heard a stat today that was insane. Jaden Daniels has led more scoring drives this season than he has incompletions, Tony.
I think he don't have that many incompletions.
No,
this year.
That's what I'm saying.
Has the punter punted yet?
Yes, he did.
He finally punted yesterday. I always enjoy the stories of guys that we're not expecting to do a whole lot of much, and then they come in, and I mean, he's been phenomenal.
It's been better than Caleb Williams.
He's been better than everybody in the draft. So there hasn't been a player that's been better than him at this point. And, nobody was talking about the Commanders at all. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about them here as we get through this season. If they can stay healthy.
3-1. Arizona Cardinals now 1-3. Not looking great.
I'll pick that upset. Boop.
Good job. This hour is brought to you by Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale. Ale Smith 394 Pale Ale, the official rally pint of the playoffs. Watch all of the San Diego postseason action at the Ale Smith Tasting Room in Miramar with game day specials on 394 and more. Root for the home team with other fans while enjoying the game with sound. Don't miss out. By the way, all TV broadcasts now are no longer Don and Mud, so you have to listen to Jesse and Tony. They will be broadcasting live throughout the playoffs. It's kind of a weird thing about baseball and TV.
Not weird at all.
I love it.
Come on down to 97.3 The Fan. Me and Jesse got you.
I love it.
All playoff long.
All right, we've been kind of all over the place in this GBU, but let's go forward.
Yeah.
The Colts beat the Steelers 27-24. And I say this is in the bad category because Anthony Richardson cannot stay healthy, and Joe Flacco had to come in the game.
Flacco backs to throw, has good protection. Over the middle, wide open for the Colts at the 5, and they dive into the end zone. Touchdown, Drew Ogletree! Touchdown, I-N-D-Y! Yes, sir! It's 23-10.
Okay, that cut off faster than I thought, but Anthony Richardson goes down due to like a hip injury. He comes back into the game. The Colts coaches call another quarterback run, which didn't seem to help his hip, and he left the game, but they did win. Justin Fields gets his first loss with the Steelers. He had over 300 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Eagles and the Buccaneers. The Eagles had no wide receivers in this game of note. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were both out of the game, so the Bucs took full advantage, and the Bucs have something going with Baker Mayfield.
Our second snap inside the Verizon red zone, a little low. Baker Mayfield dips the shoulder, throws the pass. It's a caught ball in the end zone. Did he hang on? Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Trey Palmer.
There you go. 33-16 Buccaneers win that one. Another for the bad category. The Raiders beat the Browns 20-16. It's bad for the Browns. I don't have a highlight for this because they lost. Their kicker missed the PAT, and so they could have kicked a field goal at the end of the game to tie it and put it in overtime, but they had to score a touchdown, and they weren't able to convert, so the Raiders went on to win. But Deshaun Watson throws for 176 yards and averages only 5.5 yards per completion in this game. Deshaun Watson is not the same quarterback.
I think that's pretty clear now.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know if it's off the field stuff that's clouding his head or if he's just not that guy anymore, but he is not that guy.
Yeah, man. Karma. It has seemingly settled in on him.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing from a physical standpoint that happened to him. You know, it was all off the field stuff, and yet he has not been close to the same player since he left Houston. It's been something, and it's funny. You heard Joe Flacco said that the Browns never even offered him an opportunity to come back.
Well, they don't have no money. It's all going into Deshaun Watson's pocket.
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have cost him anything to bring Flacco back, but
Flacco's still playing and still winning.
That's what I'm saying. I loved his comment yesterday about they were telling him Anthony Richardson thought he was a lot cooler than he imagined. And he said, Anthony told me I'm 8 days younger than his mom. I highly doubt.
Oh my God!
I highly doubt that he thinks I'm cool in any type of way. I thought that was
a great
kind of funny.
point. 8 days, man. That puts your age in perspective.
Yeah, it does.
All right, ugly category. We only have 2 games. The games were pretty even throughout yesterday. There wasn't any crazy ugly games, but the Broncos beat the Jets 10-9, and I don't know if we want to. We don't really have time to get into it now, Tony. We could get into it a little bit later, but Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers just do not see each other they're not on the same page with each other at all.
Yeah, we'll get into some of that sound because I know we got to get to break. We'll get into it on the other side.
Final game, the Texans. Actually, let me play this highlight because C.J. Stroud had to make a comeback, and he did. And here it is.
Offset eye, CJ rolls out to the right, throws to the end zone. Hits Dory! And the Texans score! They lead!
Jags led this one 20-17 and 17 in the fourth. CJ Stroud came from behind. Trevor Lawrence loses his 9th straight game. Something happened with Travis Etienne. He barely played in the first half. He looked very dejected. I don't know what's going on with that Jags team.
Yeah, they got some stuff going on there. Peterson at one point seemed like the perfect fit after your boy Urban Meyer left, but that thing is still not right at the top, and it seems like it's still trickling on down.
Is it Shad Khan's fault?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it this time.
He puts in a lot of money into that team.
He does. I don't know that it's his fault this time. All right, let's get to break on the other side.
Tony versus the fans.
Come get it.
833-288-0973.
two individuals that I think need to be highlighted this year, and we already talked about one in Luis Ariz, but the other is Victor Rodriguez, Padre hitting coach. You get a good idea. Scrappy and I'll talk a little bit about it if we have time in this segment, but if not in the next segment. Really just highlights the philosophy in which the Padres had going into the year. And I gave Victor a big hug the other day because I saw him. What are you looking at me like that for?
I just heard Mike Schilt give the rotation for the.
I was like, "What is so
I'm listening in my ear
about
now
about a Victor Rodriguez hug?" But I gave him a hug because at the beginning of the year, I got a chance to meet him. We started talking. We had there was a lot of things that we had not necessarily in common, but certainly we had a lot in common in terms of hitting and how we were taught. He played on. He was a young player that played on the Puerto Rican. My dad went and played winter ball in Puerto Rico, and he was on that team with my dad at the time. He was a young player at the time. But anyway, he started to kind of tell me about the philosophy that he wanted to have. And it just, as he was saying it, was like, this makes so much sense. I don't know why we hadn't done this earlier. But question was, how would he be able to implement it? I mean, I'm sure a lot of hitting coaches have had great ideas, but can you get buy-in? And he got it. He got it early. And you'll read, we'll talk a little bit, talks about Petco Park hitting and, the ball doesn't travel well, and adding Luis Ariz only highlighted what he was trying to get everybody to get on board with. And so we'll get into that a little bit after Tony versus Fan, but it's a great article on Luis. And it's really about Luis, but it's also about Victor Rodriguez, big reason why this team offensively is as good as it gets.
All right. Got some. Mike Schilt is speaking to the reporters right now. Yu Darvish will be in the bullpen. He said that's the only roster news you're going to get from me. Now, I'm pretty sure he went Michael King, Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease for the rotation.
In that order.
In that order. That's how he said it. King, Musgrove, Cease.
Yowzers.
And now, would it be King because he hasn't pitched?
It probably has something. So, yeah, it probably has something to do with time off. But, I mean, has Michael King, if we just look at the numbers, has he not earned the right to have the first start of the series?
I think he has.
I think he has too.
It's interesting
he's
that
top
Dylan
five.
Cease is the third.
I think he's top 5 in ERA. He might even be lower than that. He might have had one of the lowest ERAs. Oh, Diamondbacks 1 out away from being eliminated from playoff contention. Those bags they packed might not actually be going anywhere.
That's depressing unpacking of
isn't
that
it?
bag.
As the Braves are 1 out away from coming to San Diego.
So yeah, that's confirmed. It's King, Musgrove, and Cease.
I like it.
So, but it's a good problem to have.
What is your looks like the Padres will match up with the Atlanta Braves.
What time is it there? It's 7 o'clock. They're not going to get on a flight until 9. They won't be here until like 1 in the morning, and then they're playing again
they're getting
tomorrow.
time back, though, on this flight, though.
They're getting time back, but it's still going to be late when they get in. And
yeah,
Chris Sale has back spasms. How is he going to be able to fly on the plane with the team?
That's a great question. I'm sure those back spasms don't get better on this flight. He might be laid out in the hallway the whole flight, like laying down.
Or he's starting tomorrow, and he's preparing for his start on the way in.
See if we see him in this line out here. Don't see him.
I don't see him. You're right. Chris Sale, the last time he started against the Padres was right before the All-Star break, I believe, and on that Sunday, and he mowed him down.
It wasn't fun.
It was not fun at all.
I remember that.
Yu Darvish to the bullpen. Okay, that's what I've heard.
So Darvish to the bullpen. King, Musgrove, Cease.
Why are you saving Dylan Cease for Game 3? I understand, but then does Dylan Cease? I guess if they sweep the first 2 games, then it sets up Dylan Cease to start the first game of the NLDS.
When was King's last start?
King's last
second
start.
to the game in L.A. He pitched the first one, right?
Yes, I'm looking at
Or
it
the
right
second
now.
one.
Michael King, September 24th. Yes, he went 5 innings, struck out 3, gave up 3 hits.
That was the first one?
The Dodgers.
That was the first game against the Dodgers or the second one?
That was, I'm just making sure, that was the second one.
Okay.
Ben Higgins asking a question right now.
What Ben asked?
He asked.
Ben is asking a question
to Mike Schill. Okay. Yeah, so that was surprising, actually. That's why I gave you that look. I was like, oh, that's not exactly where I thought we were going to go with this. But hey, there you go. Cease would start game one, someone's saying on the chat, in L.A. then. I would think so if they sweep the first two games.
Well, that's probably the idea. You're trying to line yourself up. You're trying to line it all up. And, Michael King has earned the right to pitch in game one. I think he's pitched extremely well.
2.95 ERA.
Joe Musgrove has been as good as he's been at any point this year. I mean, I know he gave up the 2-run shot in his last start, but he was as efficient and clean as we've seen him. So the thing is with the three guys, you're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're splitting hairs when it comes to Cease, Musgrove, King. That's how good they've been down the stretch.
I'm fine with all of them.
Yeah.
Any of them, put them in whatever order. Doesn't matter.
We got time for Tony versus the fans?
Yes. Let's go to it right now.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
Howdy do.
now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
I'll say our boss made a really good point on the chat, Tony. The Padres traded away Juan Soto and got their Game 1 and Game 3 playoff starters in return. Still a good trade for the San Diego Padres and A.J. Preller. You flip Drew Thorpe for Dylan Cease. Good stuff.
That's one of those statements where you want to oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. But it's just us. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right or Tony gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Tony gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. And today you will win a pair of tickets to Cake in the first ever concert at Front Wave Arena this Saturday. Limited tickets remain at AXS.com. All right, let's get into it right now. And we will get our first contestant on the line. Oh, yeah, if you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into it, and you'll get that question for free. Chris versus the Fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. Let's go to Dale. Hello, Dale.
What's up, Dale?
Hello.
Hello. Are you ready to play, Dale?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Who holds the record for the fastest 100-meter sprint?
Oh my gosh! Don't do this to me again. It was the guy who won the Olympics this year. And I think before it used to be Ben Johnson.
Stay there, Dale. Ben Johnson is incorrect. I hope this is still a thing, right?
Ben Johnson, I think was at the end of it was disqualified because he got popped for steroids, if I'm not mistaken. Ben Johnson did. The answer I think you're looking for is Usain Bolt.
It's Usain Bolt.
You know what I meant.
You got it correct. Sorry, Dale.
Usain Bolt.
That's how the game works, everybody. Just one question and you're out. Let's go to Tom.
What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. How are you?
How about yourself?
I'm well, thanks.
All right, here we
after that 100-meter question, so
I would be nervous too after that one.
All right, here we go. Okay. Tom, question number 1. Who holds the record for the most home runs in a single Major League Baseball season?
I'm going with Roger Maris.
Sorry, Tom.
Bonds. Barry.
Sorry, Tom. I don't know what to do with that one. I don't know what to do with that one.
That was
It's a head scratcher. Was that Chris from the past? All right, let's go to our next contestant.
Wait. Before we go ahead, let's go to the
No,
next
no. What?
Pete Rose passed away today.
What?
Yes. The age of 83, according to TMZ.
Wow.
Wow.
Dang. I did not expect for you to say that.
No. I mean, Adam Klug sent it to me, but
no.
That is more sad news today.
That is more sad news. Dikembe Mutombo and now Pete Rose.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep playing the game.
Sorry,
I guess.
I had to get that
that's
out
a big.
there.
That's a big deal.
That's a big
deal. Let's go to Kevin in Oceanside. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Mr. Gwynn. Hello, Mr. Scravy.
Hello, Kevin.
Hello. You're right there next to Front Rave Arena, or at least in the area. So here we go. Question number one. What?
Tony, real quick, I just had a story I wanted to tell you, but I know there's not time today. But one of these days I'll call in and tell you a story about your dad, which breaks my, is really warm to my heart. But go ahead, Scravy.
Okay.
I'll be here for it.
All right, Kevin. Here we go. Question number one. Which Major League Baseball player was the first to reach 500 home runs?
The first.
Hank Aaron.
Tony.
The guy who they play, he's kind of heavy set man, and he runs around the bases with little legs real fast. Babe Ruth.
Sorry about that, Kevin.
Man, we struggling to get out of question one.
You know
today.
what? We have more to talk about on the other side, so we're going to go tiebreaker right now.
It's one of those days today, it seems like.
One of those days. We're going to do Barry Bonds, and we're also going to go to Dwayne. Hello, Dwayne.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much. All right, Tony. How many RBIs did Barry Bonds have in his career?
Oh, my Lord. He played, how many years did he play?
22.
Oh, man. So we like up in, like, let's say, let's go 12,000.
12,000 RBIs?
How many years did he play?
22? Am I looking at the right?
11,000.
11. Okay. That's a lot of RBI. I think you meant 1,100?
Yes, sorry, 1,100.
I was going to
sorry.
say.
That's what I meant.
Under. He said 11,000. Under is correct. So you're going to win, Dwayne. Stay right there, and we will get you.
We weren't going to give him a
information
prize if I kept answering these right. Come on, man.
All right. That was the most interesting game of Chris versus the fans we've ever played.
Because it wasn't Chris versus the fans. It was Tony versus the fans.
It was Tony the versus. That's right. That's right. So on the other side, we got more news to talk about with the Padres. Maybe finish up Tony's thoughts about Luis Ariz, but we got a rotation for the wild card.
All that, and we'll get some thoughts on Pete Rose's passing. This is a guy who had over 4,000 hits, and, not in the Hall of Fame for the reasons I think we all know, gambling, and you wonder, does his time in terms of getting in via vote is long past, but there is a committee out there that may feel differently now that he is, passed.
Not with us anymore, yeah.
We'll talk about it all on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97th.
our Tony versus the fan winner. It was one of those days where we were already running out of question number ones because
I had more, but Roger Maris threw me through a loop.
12,000 RBIs. Didn't quite win it for me. It wins it for Dwayne. Congratulations. Couple things.
My bad. I turned off your mic as I turned off my mic, too.
Luis Arise, I talked a little bit about it. I just want to read you a little bit of some of the quotes out of this article. I'll start with Jackson. I thought he was good. It goes into WAR, which is, Chris Ello's favorite statistic. The average difference between each league leaders in Baseball Reference's WAR and its most valuable player is smaller than any prior decade in the 20s to 2020s. In 2021, Major League Baseball proposed replacing the salary arbitration system with a model relying on Fangraph's version of WAR, F-WAR. In clubhouses around the country, young players have grown up and at least are somewhat familiar with the doctrine of WAR. This is Jackson Miller here. I see the numbers, but I don't really know exactly what they mean. This is one of the best young players in the league speaking.
21 years old.
21. I'd say it makes sense when you look at Judge's year, Skeens, Ohtani, and all of them. It makes sense why it's so high compared to other players. Merrill and other Padre players, though, do not think that WAR accurately captures the value of Luis Arise. For us, no, Merrill said, because he doesn't really just hit. And then it kind of goes through Arise. It says, of course, he specializes in the kind of hitting that has gone out of style in 2022 when he led the American League with a .316 batting average. He was deemed a 2.7 F-WAR player. That ranked 66th among qualifying big league position players. Then Arise spent the first half of 2023 flirting with 400. He settled at 354. The highest full season average in the majors since 2010. He settled for a 3.3 WAR, which was 54th in the rankings. This season, no different. His shortcomings on defense and his power threat appeared magnified. Arise overcame a slow start in Miami and his lingering thumb injury to hit 314, withstanding a late charge from Shohei Ohtani.
It was late.
And became the first player to win 3 consecutive batting titles with 3 different teams. At the same time, Arise recorded a .392 slugging percentage and a career-high 47 starts at designated hitter. His F-WAR put him behind Miguel Garcia. You probably don't know who that is. That's the infielder for the Royals. And Zach Geloff. And so, it goes on to talk a little bit. Jake Cronenworth, who kind of is in the same position, right? Because he's DHing, he's playing first base. And if you're not hitting 30 homers in those positions, offensive WAR is going to look a little different. And so he was kind of talking about those two. But I just thought as you go through the article, you start to see what it is that they're talking about. Manny specifically says it starts in terms of when asked for their personal appraisals of Arise's value. Cronenworth and others with the Padres tend towards superlatives. It starts with one of the best hitters in the game. Starting off the game like that is huge. I know the singles hitters isn't really valued in much in this game, but as a starting pitcher, this is Joe Musgrove talking. As a starting pitcher, it's exhausting facing guys like that. Guys that don't swing and miss, that don't chase a lot, they are consistently on base. That wears you down over the course of an outing. It adds pitches to your outing. It makes you more stressful. It makes you make more stressful pitches with guys on base. So although it might not provide the instant runs that Slug does, I feel like it's extremely valuable. This is coming from a scientist on the mound in Joe Musgrove. And that's why he fits this team so well. Starts that every night at the top of the lineup, and you already are having to think, man, this guy's going to go 0-2, and then he's going to foul off 6 pitches. I'm 8 deep already, and it might get longer. And so I encourage you guys to read that article before tomorrow's series starts against the Braves.
Yes.
Michael King on the bump.
Michael King. Dylan Cease going third is crazy to me, but I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to go into this with the happiest of thoughts. Real quick, though, before we get out of there, what are your thoughts on Pete Rose and passing away?
I wonder why you're asking me this. I think that
Because I care, Tony.
I think that I'll be interested to see if this changes anything.
Put him in posthumously. I think that's
for
what
the
they say.
record. The Baseball Hall of Fame isn't made up of great people who did only great things off the field. There's some bad ones in there too.
I think there was a guy named Ty Cobb.
Yeah, he's one of them. So certainly that isn't the bar, whether you agree with that or not. That's not the bar. Yeah, I wonder if this changes things. If there's a Veterans Committee vote coming with him involved in it.
That would be kind of wrong to me, to put him in after he's been campaigning his entire post-baseball life to get into the Hall of Fame. That would not sit right with me. But in the end, he gets in.
He wouldn't be the first one to get in after he passed. So
that's sad. There's a lot of sad today. Dikembe Mutombo.
A lot of happiness, certainly a lot of sadness, as there probably is every day. All right, that's going to do it for our show today. Monday Night Football follows. We'll be back at it. Full coverage starting at
6 a.m. at Baja Rick's.
6
Ben and
a.m.
Woods. Then you got
Baja
10 to 2
Rick's.
with Annie and Elston. Then you got 2 to 4:30 with Tony, myself, and Braden.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on tomorrow.
Should be fun. Let's enjoy this, San Diego. We don't know how many times we're going to get to do this, so have a good night.